Susan Hirsch is a clinical herbal medicine intern studying at Thai Sophia. She was asked to pay a visit to Montgomery College's Nutrition Club to present a lecture on herbs. The students learned a lot and also did a cooking exercise with her in the Marriott Hospitality Center.
Let's start with definition of an herb. It's any plant that's used in healing. So by that definition, any herb or spice is medicinal. Traditional peoples use spices for particular reasons in foods, and we've just been using them for so long that we've forgotten that they've had a purpose. For example, ginger and wasabi was always eaten with sushi, and that's in order to kill any microbes that might be lurking. And rosemary was always added to pork dishes for the very same reason. You don't want to be ingesting parasites. So spices were added to foods before the invention of refrigerators to keep the foods preserved. There is a difference between herbs and spices. The difference is that spices always taste good because they're added to food. Herbs don't always taste good. There are ways of categorizing herbs based on observations of nature, and the main categories are hot, cold, dry, and moist. They have complex chemistries just like you have complex chemistries. And so by consuming them, they sort of remind your body about how it's supposed to function. And unlike drugs, herbs work by many different pathways, and they tend to modulate different pathways in the body at the same time, which is what makes them so cool. So, I'm going to give you a little secret about herbal medicine and how we assess energetics in the body. One of the ways we do it is by looking at your tongue. I know that sounds really gross, but it used to be used in our Western medicine as well. The doctor would ask you to stick out your tongue, and they would do some simple observations, and that would give us a window into your energetic state. If you've ever looked at your tongue when you're sick, it's usually a white coat, a really thick white coat, maybe some red around there, and that means a damp condition. So you use some of the drying and heating herbs to treat that. So many of our herbs, known as spices, are added to foods because they're warming, and they bring blood flow to the gut, which enhances the digestion of foods and helps you to get the energy from the foods, so it helps you to feel warmer. Ginger is warming, it's drying, it's anti-inflammatory, and it increases digestion. Ginger is found in different varieties around the world, and it's been used in almost every traditional herbal medicine, and as well as in cooking. It's mentioned in the Bible, it's mentioned in the Quran, it's mentioned in the writings of Confucius. It's one of those herbs that you just can't live without. In 13th century in England, a pound of ginger was worth one whole sheep. That's how important it was to them, because it's so cold and gloomy there that they needed their ginger tea to keep the blood flowing. Garlic is warming and drying and stimulating. I call it a flavor hero because if you don't have any other flavorings and you just add garlic, you're usually okay. It has antimicrobial properties, and so that's another reason why it was added to foods, to help to preserve them and to prevent bacteria from growing. Do you all know who Louis Pasteur is? The guy who invented pasteurization? Well, he discovered bacteria. He was the first person to look in a microscope and see that there were things moving. He also discovered that garlic was antimicrobial. So way back when we first heard about bacteria, we also heard about garlic being antimicrobial. Another use for garlic is for cardiovascular health. There's a lot of really cool research on garlic for reducing cholesterol production, for reducing blood pressure, and for helping clean out the arteries and reducing atherosclerosis. Rosemary is specific for stimulating circulation, and so it helps to stimulate circulation to the brain, also to the joints, which Jim Duke uses that for as well for joint pain. So it brings blood flow to the joints for that cold stagnation. Because of its effects on blood flow, it's antispasmodic. So it helps with any kind of cramps that are happening in the system. It could be digestive cramps, it could be menstrual cramps, it could be migraines, anything else. Oh yeah, and the smooth muscle in your bronchioles. When people have asthma, that tends to cramp up and cause your throat to close up. And so rosemary could be one of the herbs that you bring into your life for that. This is a cousin to the regular basil. It's called holy basil or tulsi. You may have seen it in the health food store. They have a tea called tulsi tea, and that's holy basil. You will be drinking it as part of your beverage for the meal, and we'll also be eating it. We're gonna add it as a pesto to salmon. I love it because it's just really calming, and it helps to decrease the effects of stress. There's some scientific studies on using holy basil to reduce cortisol, which is one of the stress hormones in the body. Cortisol is what gets you up in the morning. It's responsible for waking you up and making sure you're, bright and happy in the morning, and then it tapers off as you go towards the night so you can get to sleep. When you're stressed out, when you're chronically stressed, you tend to be really lethargic and tired in the morning and then not able to sleep at night because your cortisol is going up instead of starting high and going low. So holy basil helps to balance that rhythm of cortisol in the body. It also helps to balance blood sugar levels. There's lots of interesting research on holy basil in diabetics, and it was used to help lower blood sugar levels. Of course, you would never want to replace holy basil for your insulin medication, but it can be used if you have just mild blood sugar imbalances. You can use it to balance that. In the clinic, in the student clinic at Tai Sophia, we especially like to use holy basil for people who are stuck and kind of stagnant in their emotions or in their lives, just to kind of get the energy flowing, especially for anybody that's experiencing lots of stress. A lot of women in midlife crisis, we give holy basil, and I also give it a lot to teens. It seems to really help with the stress of going through high school and figuring out what you want to do and being angry at the world. I don't know if you know this, but 70% of your immune system is found in your gut, and it has to do with the health of your gut flora. You have all these little bacteria in your body. Your body's made out of 90% bacteria, by the way. I don't know if any of you knew that, but you're 10% human and 90% bacteria. So a healthy gut flora is the way to a healthy immune system. And astragalus, the polysaccharides and the fiber in astragalus helps to feed those gut bacteria. Your immune system's educated by the interaction between the gut bacteria and the food. And that's one of the ways that food can be medicine as well, and why fiber is so important to a healthy body. Is anybody familiar with elderberry? No? Cool, okay. Well, elder is one of the most helpful herbs that you could consume on a daily basis for your immune system and your immune function. The flowers are used as a tea, and they're known as a diaphoretic, which means that it helps to break fevers. If you're experiencing a fever and you know how you get like kind of hot and sweaty and really miserable, if you drink elderflower tea, it can help you to break that fever and feel a lot better. The elderberries are a really yummy way to protect against colds and flu, because they taste really good. Elder trees are found all over the wild. in part because people have planted them and also because the birds eat the seeds and they spread. There's compounds in the berries called anthocyanins, and they attach to the virus in the body and they stop it from entering the cells and infecting. So it blocks it and locks it from infecting the body, and then it just passes out undamaged. They did a study where they gave elderberry syrups to flu patients, and 93% of the patients were symptom-free in 2 days. And the patients that took placebo, they took 6 days to recover. So it's pretty amazing medicine. The flower as well as the berry has been used to reduce the thickness of mucus and also to relax the sinuses, because sometimes sinus pain comes from congestion of the blood vessels. So the flower helps to relax that. And you can really notice a difference if you try it next time you feel under the weather. So the next herb is burdock. And this is another herb that you might find around in your lawn or on the side of the road that you never paid attention to and you didn't think was worth anything. But actually burdock is a really powerful medicine. It's cooling and drying and mildly sweet. It's also the plant that inspired Velcro. If you've ever been out hiking and you get all those annoying little burrs on you, they stick to your dog, they stick to your clothes. Yeah, that's the burr from burdock. And one day this guy was walking and he got a burr stuck to him, and he looked at it and he examined it and he thought about it and he was like, oh, that could make things attach better. And so we invented Velcro from that. Burdock is one of our best herbs for skin conditions, for chronic skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, dry skin, because it helps to support the liver in cleansing the blood. And traditionally, skin conditions were thought to be a buildup of toxins in the body. And so burdock helps to get those toxins out, supports the liver in cleansing the blood. Burdock also has lots of fiber that's food for your friendly bacteria. So it's a good intestinal tonic. And it also has antibacterial properties, so it can get some of those bad bacteria out and support the good bacteria.